What's cool about Loopscale is that you guys are sort of a more innovative take on DeFi in a world where crypto can be very derivative sometimes. Someone comes up with an idea and there's like 50 iterations of this, and then we're all left with a bunch of AI agent launch pads that nobody asked for. So in the DeFi lending world, I guess like how would you break down at a simple level to somebody what is actually innovative in crypto lending? It strikes me that Aave's pool-based lending is an innovation at the time that it came out, even though there's issues with it, as you pointed out. Things like Morpho, Fluid, which is the Jupiter one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like cut through the noise a little bit maybe, and just like what is truly innovative in DeFi lending from your point of view? Like what's the stuff that's actually cool out there?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get a biased answer if you're asking me who's innovating in our space.
Sure.
But I mean, yeah, I think you pinpointed in terms of like what I think, yeah, there were these three milestones in innovation, DeFi lending, and the space is like relatively new. So that seems like a fine pace of innovation. But you started with the pool-based model, which I think was the best for the time, given all the constraints between Ethereum, the fact that the main goal was to bootstrap liquidity. No one knew if there was borrow demand. And then you had Morpho come in with, okay, we've proven borrow demand. We need to be able to allocate capital more efficiently and give people more control over risk. And so I think that was the next innovation. And then so you saw a lot of like different versions of Aave and the pool model originally, and then you saw a lot of different versions of Morpho. And then I think there's some interesting innovations that Morpho has even introduced since like their V1 with like their public allocator and being able like to have vaults lend to other vaults, and like optimize capital across all the different fragments or like isolated markets you've created. And then I think, yeah, the next iteration is like, okay, we have isolated markets now, which are like hyper customizable. And we have pools, which are like hyper liquid in like a traditional sense. And what can we do now where you have that same liquidity and I think order books were like another innovation, and order books kind of the same thing with isolated markets. You have perfect configuration, low liquidity. It's like, what is the third evolution that lets you preserve both liquidity and scalability? And I think that's where you get something that looks kind of like really this like hybrid order book model where you can deposit this a pool like structure, but the underlying liquidity layer is all order book based.
Mm-hmm. People's hyperliquid mentioned parlay just hit with that answer. That was a very funny way you stumbled into talking about hyperliquid.
Is there a bet on?
No, but there should be.
I was like, that's crazy, and I wouldn't be surprised.
You're rushing to go place a bet. No.
Yeah, no, I've got an addiction, clearly.
Okay, so that's a good overview. And then I guess like what is still unsolved as you look at all these different crypto lending protocols? Like what has nobody really cracked yet that's needed to actually bring a lot of new capital on chain?
Yeah, I think a lot of the work that has yet to be done is around making things more composable. I think like that's kind of what I view as our kind of next mission. And it's not that there's not like the ability to compose, it's making it easier for people. So for context, we've recently introduced a feature called a architectural change called Loan Lock, which allows a lot of like the flash borrow or flash loan functionality, but basically allows you at the beginning of a transaction to take your collateral, do anything with it. And as long as you're at the health factor by the end of the transaction, you can complete the loan. And so that's like an extremely powerful primitive for being able to like trade with margin, and kind of to the point of like your end game is originations. You need to be able to provide the capital that users need at like the right context. And I think that's something that Web2 fintech learned. You have all these like embedded fintech products like Affirm, like buy now, pay later. You have things like Paraffin that are like lending to, I think it's like DoorDash merchants. And like a lot of people, especially traders, don't necessarily have like an immediate contextual use for borrowed capital. It's like, why would I even borrow? What do I need to borrow money for? Mm-hmm. And so you need to kind of do that step for borrowers of like, show them that there is money available when at a point point when they think they might actually need money. And so that's when you're going to buy things. That's when you're going to expand your store. And a lot of that, the ability to build that out hinges on kind of composability and permissionlessness of that composability. And so for us, I think the kind of next phase is making it super easy for anyone to tap in to our markets on both the liquidity side, and also be able to tap into being able to borrow and lend, and get access to idle yield on the markets. And so that's kind of the next, I would say, phase for all of this, including us, is kind of deepening that integration level and making it a lot easier for people. And I think the challenge there is mostly like, how do you, when people are coming in with a new asset, how do you make sure that it's integrated in such a way that you have pricing set up and you have liquidation set up, and you can't tap into the same liquidity unless all the risk is vetted. And so there's an element of like permissionness that's required, but it's more like, how do you generalize and standardize this across any type of asset?
Mm-hmm. I liked all of that. I get warning signals whenever I hear DoorDash and financing.
Oh no, it's not. Sentence. It's not financing people buying DoorDash. It's financing restaurants.
I know.
And but, drivers on DoorDash.
You know, if you unveil.
Oh yeah, I forgot that you have like beef with
borrowing against my.
No, you have
DoorDash
beef with
burrito.
Ordering DoorDash. You said you never order takeout or something.
I do. I'm gonna drop the most controversial X article of the year very soon. Get ready for it.
Oh man,
with my hatred of DoorDash. Sorry, we're off topic.